You've probably heard the story, right? A scientist, a top secret project, and a candy bar that melts in his pocket. It's this awesome story of accidental genius. But what if that story isn't really the whole truth? What if the real story is hiding in plain sight, and it's actually way more impressive? All right, let's get into it and find out what really happened.
Yeah, we have to start with the legend. It's the story everybody knows. It's pretty much the foundation of how we think this incredible machine came to be. So let's just get straight to the point. Is this famous story of a gooey, melted candy bar really how we got one of the most common gadgets in our kitchens today?
This is the story we all know and love. Percy Spencer, this engineer at Raytheon, he's working on radar tech, this thing called a waveguide. The story goes he just leans up against it and bam, his afternoon snack accidentally becomes a world-changing discovery. It's simple, it's memorable. Honestly, it's the perfect eureka moment. But, it's also maybe a little too perfect.
See, the problem with legends is that sometimes they're just so good they completely overshadow the facts. And the facts of this story, well, they aren't in some fun anecdote. They're written down in the super technical language of a patent, filed way back in 1945.
And here it is. This is the actual document. U.S. Patent 2495429. I mean, just look at that title, Method of Treating Foodstuffs. That doesn't really sound like something a guy who just accidentally melted a candy bar would write, does it? This sounds like a methodical inventor documenting a very deliberate process.
So to really get what's going on in Spencer's patent, we have to understand the technology he was working with. And it definitely did not come from a kitchen. It came straight from the battlefield. Okay, this little thing right here is the star of the show, the magnetron. You can think of it like a super high-tech whistle, but instead of making sound, it blasts out these powerful radio waves, microwaves. And back in World War II, this little device was a very, very big deal.
That's right. The same tech that reheats your leftovers was a secret weapon that helped the Allies win the war. It gave radar systems the power to spot enemy planes from miles away. And Percy Spencer? He wasn't just some guy who knew about these things. He was one of the world's leading experts in making them.
So if the melted candy bar wasn't the real aha moment, then what was? The truth is, the discovery wasn't an accident. It was this deep, scientific insight into the actual physics of cooking.
Okay, so think about how a regular oven works. It cooks from the outside in, right? It heats up the air around your food, cooks the surface, and that heat slowly works its way to the middle. A microwave, it does the exact opposite. It blasts energy waves through the food, making the water molecules inside go crazy all at once. It's basically cooking from the inside out. And you don't have to take my word for it. This is right from Spencer's own patent. He's saying the key is using a wavelength that is comparable to the average dimension of the foodstuff. That's not a guess. That's physics. He figured out that to cook something well, the energy wave had to be just the right size to get in there and heat up the whole thing at once.
So this is the real genius move. It wasn't about noticing a melted snack. It was about identifying a very specific 10-centimeter wavelength as the Goldilocks zone for cooking. Not too long, not too short, just right. And the difference this made? It was absolutely mind-blowing.
Let me put this in perspective for you. He calculated that to bake one potato in a normal electric oven at the time, it took this much energy, 72,000 kilowatt seconds. Okay, keep that number in your head for a second. Now, how much energy did it take to cook that exact same potato using his new microwave method? Just 240. I mean, that's not a small improvement. It's 300 times more efficient. This wasn't just a new way to cook, it was a ridiculously better way to use energy. Okay, so he's cracked the science. The next step is to actually build the thing. But going from a lab idea to a real product, well, it was a heavy lift, literally. And all of that amazing science and engineering built this beast. Everyone, meet the Radarange, the world's very first commercial microwave oven. It was an absolute monster, nothing like the sleek little boxes we have today. Just get a load of these stats. It stood taller than a person, it weighed more than a grand piano, and get this, it had to be water-cooled, so you needed a plumber to install it. And the price? About $60,000 in today's money. Yeah, this was not for making family dinners. It was built for battleships and huge restaurants. Which brings us all the way back to our original question.
After digging into the patent, the science, and the crazy engineering, where do we land? So after all this, can we really just chalk it up to a lucky mistake? Was it really just about being in the right place at the right time with the right kind of snack in your pocket? Look, the legend is fantastic PR. It's a great story, it's easy to tell, makes the whole thing seem magical. But the evidence, the actual document written and signed by the man himself, it tells a completely different story. A story of deliberate, brilliant, scientific work. The truth is right here, signed by Percy Spencer. You read through the complex math, the details on wavelengths, the incredible energy comparisons. This is not the work of someone who just got lucky. This is the work of a pure genius. So the real story is so much better. It's not about a melted snack. It's about this brilliant, self-taught engineer who looked at a critical weapon of war and had the imagination to see its peaceful, revolutionary purpose. He turned a tool made for detecting enemies into a tool for the kitchen. And that kind of leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? It just makes you wonder, what other everyday things that we completely take for granted have a secret, incredible story of genius just hiding right under the surface? Hey, if you enjoyed digging into the real story with me, do me a favor and hit that like button. And definitely subscribe for more explainers that uncover the truth behind our world. Thanks for watching.